Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Linda Duits, as it says, and we'll start the video. So, language is what makes us human. Language connects us to other humans, and it is through language that we express our love and make our desires known. The internet allows us to communicate in new ways, endows us with more tools to express ourselves, emoticons, GIFs, emoji, avatars. And as many new romantic and sexual relationships start online, there is a rich language of love online. How to become fluent in this language? Well, Aristotle defined language as thoughts that have taken form. Humans use their voice to express inner thoughts. Speech then is articulated voice, the thoughts that we reveal by speaking. In order to be understood, language needs to be built up by a limited amount of set elements. Language requires conventions. That means that we need at least two people in order to have a language. The internet is a space where different groups of people meet on different channels, and by now a lot of people use the internet for communication. But when the internet was still a puppy and the first languages of the internet were being formed and agreed upon, it mainly belonged to a specific subculture of tech-minded people, mostly men. And the early languages of the internet thus reflected their interests, their ideas, their language, like, for instance, noob, internet slang for newbie. It's an example of leet speak, using numbers in your words. Leet comes from the word elite, which indicates that being in the know is important here. You need to know these conventions in order to be able to participate. Another example is woot woot, a word to express happiness, like an owl that says hoot. People that speak internet slang say hoot hoot. So the languages of the internet are thus languages of subcultures. They are, first of all, channel-specific. Different media are used for different purposes. On email, communication is much more formal than on WhatsApp, for instance. On Grindr, a dick pic is much appreciated. On Twitter, it is not. They are also depending on the affordances of a service. Affordances are somewhat like the properties of an object. They are the type of things that users can do with a specific service. So Instagram, for instance, allows to post pictures with caption, but links are not clickable. That's why you so commonly see link in bio written under images, as the profile page of Instagram is the only place where you can post a clickable link. Link in bio is as a clever way of users to reshape the service to their needs. On Twitter, retweets used to be done by hand, so a person would just type RT and a username to forward someone else's tweets to their own followers. Twitter later turned this into a feature, and there's now a retweet button. That also meant the death of the fake retweet, like this one, the false retweet, a joke very commonly in the early 10s. So, thirdly, these languages are region-specific. So different languages and natural cultures obviously matter, and the languages of the internet also differ per region. Some inside jokes only work in Dutch, and some conventions are only known and understood by people from a specific region. The languages of the internet fulfill similar functions as the standard language. They express meaning, they express our inner thoughts. But language is also a way of marking off subcultures. By using certain words, expressions, or images, you show that you are in the know. You need to know your meme in order to use it effectively. In that sense, internet also functions to help find like-minded people, people that share your interest and are part of the same milieu. It helps you filter. Using certain words or abbreviations on a dating profile is like using signals. Only the ones that get it, get it. On my dating profiles, there's usually a reference to the number 42. If you don't get that, then please don't contact me, as I prefer to date people that know geeky subculture. Anybody know 42? Yeah. Internet language doesn't work any different than the standard language. When you hear someone speak, you're provided with a lot of extra information about their gender, their age, their social class, perhaps. And all these things are incredibly important if you're looking for love. Finding the right person means finding the person that fits you, that fits with your interest and your identity. The languages of love are thus languages of identity and culture. Using images is a way of adding information to our communication. A space used to be limited in early SMS and Twitter. People used different ways to add cues to information. Emoticon and emoji can be used to add mood to what you type. In handwritten letters, you can extract mood from the way letters were written, angrily or with tears on the paper. When you type, these cues are missing. In order to communicate more meaning, you add emoji or images. See also the pictorial superiority effect. I can spend a lot of words explaining the differences between a cupcake and a macaron, but I can just show it to you and then you know. So language needs conventions. We need agreed upon meanings. Language is also always changing. New words and new meanings are made up and find their way into language. New emojing or new meanings of existing emojing show how creative we are in using language and conveying meanings. If you don't understand these visuals, you probably need to have it explained in speech or written form. So we will always need words, no matter how effective visuals can be. To close, technology doesn't change our language. We evoke and develop technology so we can communicate in ways that we want. The internet doesn't affect our language affects the internet. The languages of love online reveal different layers of meaning that we want to add to just written language. They will be forever changing and developing, helping us finding that special person or special persons that we want to spend a night or a lifetime with. So welcome everybody, welcome to IMPAKT Festival, welcome to this session on the languages of love. As I said, my name is Duits. I'm a media scholar and author, and I'm also going to be moderating today's session. We have a great panel for you, which I would like to invite to the stage right now. So please welcome Kelli van der Waals, Lilian Stolk and Dries Verhoeven. We'll discuss different topics in 4 rounds, and you in the audience also get the opportunity to ask questions. That also applies for the audience at home. But first, let me introduce my guests. First up, we have Dries Verhoeven. He's a theater maker, visual artist. He creates installations, performances, and happenings in museums, on location, and in the public spaces of cities. Central to your work is evaluating the relationships between the spectators, performers, and everyday reality. Welcome, Dries.
Thank you.
Then Lilian Stolk, a historian and artist, the Netherlands' first emoji expert. She investigates why our language gets to be more visual. She's also co-founder of the a platform for contemporary visual culture. She writes as well, and you might know her from the Zonder Woorden book, the Without Words book. And then Kelli van der Waals is a journalist that writes for Vrij Nederland, the Volkskrant en Trouw about the place of technology in our daily lives. Her new book, Koud Water, Hoe te leven in het digitale tijdperk, just came out today. Congratulations. She's also won the Merkur Award for Best Report in 2018. So we're going to do different rounds to talk about the languages of love. So let's start with the first round, latest trends and new phenomena. What are people really trying to tell with their avatar or picture? And does the panel signal any other new relevant phenomena? We've asked you to prepare some visuals that you will discuss. And I would like to start with Lilian, and you brought a clip. We tested this. Yeah.
Shall I just talk?
Yeah, you can talk over it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we have dating platforms, but actually all social platforms are used for dating. And one of the newer platforms, TikTok, is very useful for that because one thing that is essentially different from the apps, the social apps that we're used to, is its advanced machine learning algorithm. So the app doesn't learn about your personal behavior because of the persons you like or the pages you like, or the persons you connect with or the pages you like, but from your viewing behavior, how often you view a certain video, do you watch it till the end, do you forward it to other people? And this way the platform can bring people together with sometimes very specific interests, and that makes it work so well also as a dating app. So for instance, this collection of videos, of TikTok's videos, is from the niche lesbian TikTok, hashtag women loves women, also that's also used. And here you can see like lesbian couples showing what it is, what they do in their relationship, or singles who are looking for someone to date with. Yeah, and I read one interesting article in The Cut where a journalist said that she wasn't aware that she was attracted to women herself, but the algorithm of TikTok did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she apparently she loved a lot of, or she kept watching some lesbian TikTok videos, and she came in the TikTok in this TikTok niche. Yeah.
Dries, what do you think about that? The algorithm discovering that you're gay before you do?
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe also handy, but. When I was 17, when people told me maybe you're gay, it is helpful that someone puts it in front of you, right? Mm-hmm. So when the algorithm does that, maybe it's good.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's a bit like someone telling you this is going to be your next profession when you go to someone and you, yeah, maybe it's good.
And I guess these are just the moments when we see how much algorithms already know about us.
Indeed, yeah.
Which is already the case for a long time, of course. But now, like at these moments, like this journalist finding out.
Also because like in Instagram, you like very openly connect with certain people, and it's obvious what interest you share with Instagram. And I think in TikTok it's a bit less obvious because it's so based on your viewing behavior. And sometimes, like this journalist, you're often not aware of your viewing behavior yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Kelli,
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I always ask myself the question, are we still needed then, or can the avatars take over? Can there be a moment that your avatar is communicating with my avatar and with yours, and we are long dead, and we are not here anymore, but the avatars have their...
Maybe that's happening in Meta.
In Meta, yeah. I met an artist who was experimenting with this. So he created a digital version of himself. So he fed an algorithm all his tweets and text messages, and that created a version of himself. And then it sort of went rogue and started spreading out loads of racist things.
Yeah,
but I also asked him the question, like, would it be possible for your bot to do your chatting on dating apps for you? Because that seems like something that I would really have somebody else do for me.
I think it's very easy.
Yeah, yeah. Kelli, let's go to your visual.
Yeah, so I thought I'd focus a bit on some teens that I have followed for a couple of years. I call them the smartphone generation because it's like the current teens and early 20s, or Gen Z, or Zoomers as they're sometimes called. And they are a very interesting generation because they are the first ones that have never known a life without the internet or a high school without a smartphone. So they have to always present this public image of themselves like we do, except they have to do it already when they are still developing their identity or finding their place in the social hierarchy. So the picture they put online of themselves is super important. And the girl we are seeing here, it's Sophia. And she's kind of like the queen bee of this group that I followed, like a little group of, well, let's call them mean girls or popular girls who really knew all the unwritten rules. So she really knew what the trends were and the way she ought to present herself in a profile picture. And what I learned from her is that variation is super important. So you have to have like different types of pictures of yourself. So you don't, if you only do this, you will maybe seem too arrogant. But I would say this is her favorite pose, and like I know her for a couple of years now, and she's still posting kind of the same things. But as you can see, she takes a lot of cues from celebrities. Many a Kardashian has posted pictures like this of herself frequently on Instagram. And she also presents a lot of contemporary beauty ideals. For example, her full lips. And also the eyebrows here, I think, are really interesting because an important trend of the last couple of years is that eyebrows need to be a bit thicker and more pronounced. And that's because people tend to attribute more intelligence to faces with more defined eyebrows. It kind of says something also about what we want online. We want to see both beauty and, sex and smarts is what I would call it. And with these girls, I thought it was especially interesting because it gives them like a sense of power which they don't have in real life.
To have control over how they present themselves.
Well, they have control over how they present themselves, but this looks like a girl who has a lot of power already, even though she's only like 17. So actually, she's not even an adult yet, so there are not many things she can really decide for herself. But in this picture, she can decide everything. So, it gives her already a bit of adulthood that she's like
control
owning.
and agency. Dries, you also brought a profile, but a little bit different.
Yeah. I feel a bit embarrassed, but I thought I should do it.
You shouldn't feel embarrassed.
So this is
Talk
me.
us through us.
Yeah. So this is my scruff profile, and I thought
What is scruff? Maybe.
Sorry, is it me?
No.
Scruff is a gay dating website or sex app, just like Grindr, for example. People use it for several reasons. The most common is to find someone to have a fuck. There are some people who try to find romance through it, which also goes through pretending you're looking for a fuck. And then there's people...
Which is sort of reversed in straight culture, where people pretend that they're looking for love while they want to have a fuck.
Yeah. And then there's, I think, a growing group of people who go there just to be there. So it's a goal in the end. Instead of going on Netflix for a night, you go a night on Scruff or a night on Grindr, and you check how many people like you. Because in the end, it's about getting the attention from the people who look at you.
Then you chat with each other.
You chat, or you're being woofed, for example, or you
ring woofed?
Woof is like the same as a thumbs up. In Grindr, it's another name. I forgot. Somebody knows that. It's like a ping or something like that. And this feeling of getting like a ping, that gives a bit of a dopamine. That gives a bit of like, well done. And people get addicted to this feeling of like, well done. And this leads to a certain way of building up a profile, not because you want to find your next lover, but because you like the dopamine. For me, it was the opposite, because this was the first thing I sent to my current husband. So in a way, what I did there was successful, and that's why I thought let's show it here. So this is a few years ago, or at least the picture is a few years ago. But I followed, I think, perfect the rules, which is, first of all, the rule is pretend to be masculine, pretend to be muscular, Stop making a picture
Show
where,
that.
where the belly starts. So I really did that. I did 40 push-ups before I took the picture. The lighting I did in a certain way so that you have the feeling that I have muscles. Then I think it's important not to laugh. It's on these websites or apps, it's important to act indifferently, to come across as easygoing. So when you are rejected by someone, you're expected to always say, cool, no worries, which is also like the rejection of anything emotional. That's what you're not supposed to do. Then there's a lot of lying happening. I don't know if you know my age, but I lied about my age, which is when you go there just to get the woofs, why wouldn't you lie? Why wouldn't you say that you have an XL cock, for example, because it gives you this pat on the back that gives you a good feeling.
But don't you want a pat on the back for something that you actually are?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because there's quite a few people who put a fake profile because they like this. And if you don't get this in daily life, then maybe it's good enough. So yeah, it is a tendency that you see more often. What really annoys me is that you should stick to the prescripted words. So I'm for example a jock, a muscle, and a guy next door. You cannot fill in artist or poet or I don't know, anything that you can be.
Yeah.
Also the things that you can be interested in are just very limited, or the things you are open to. And this leads also to pretending that you're looking for sex when you are not. And this might also lead to your idea of what sex is. Because if someone asks you, are you top or bottom? Then this idea enters your head, and you think that having sex is about being top or bottom, and you forget about the whole, I don't know, mysterious wonderland that sex can be.
Yeah, yeah. There's other elements here that I'm also interested in, but let's move to the second topic, because we're already sort of talking about that as well, the gray zone between done and not done, so conventions. I always have the tendency to do this, but it doesn't matter at all. The conventions, new implicit and explicit rules. Kelli, your slide.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, so I think it's actually 3 images, but we'll figure it out. All right.
Yep, they're moving.
Yeah, so I thought I'd stick with the girls for a bit. These are girls from about like the same group. What I found very interesting is when I was talking to these girls for the first time, they were explaining to me about Facetune and whether or not like that's like a kind of like a photo. I don't know, maybe someone doesn't know Facetune, but it's kind of like an app that you can use easily to Photoshop yourself, like your Snapchat picture or your Instagram picture. And the girls were very aware, like they would use it, but not too much. So I don't know if we can go back to the first one.
I don't think my clicker is working anymore. But
oh yeah, so the first one, like the girl in between, as you can see, she's already quite pretty. She was super popular in this high school, but she didn't like her own lips. So on each and every one of her pictures, she enlarges her lips with Facetune. And that was kind of okay, but they were an absolute no-go a few years back, according to these girls, was you cannot see that you've used Facetune. So if your butt is obviously much rounder and bigger, that's not okay. Like people will think that's like you're a bit of a loser. But actually that kind of started to change during the years, because if we see the next picture, like the girl on the right is a girl that, from the same group, and she used to be super careful with face tuning herself. And here she's almost like an avatar. And I was really surprised when I saw it. So this was Valentine's Day this year, and she was just. This is something she would have never done a few years back. and now she's just like, yeah, she's playing around with it. I don't know if she maybe thought it still looked realistic. I would say it doesn't. But it really showed to me how these conventions are changing super rapidly. And I don't know what's the next picture. Yeah, so here we have an example of the person who is, well, partly a little bit responsible. Like the Kardashians, they are so all over social media, and these girls are seeing so many pictures of, yeah, of course the Kardashians, but also maybe Paris Hilton, you name it. But Kylie Jenner, I think, is a super good example of someone who keeps on pushing these boundaries. She's like on the forefront of this, and she's followed by so many girls from this generation. And Kylie Jenner, actually, a couple of years back, she was in the news, in the gossip news, because like her face completely changed from like a small girl with a little mousy mouth to like kind of this face with huge lips, and she would deny she had fillers, and then of course she had fillers, she had put in fillers, and as soon as like the word was out, yeah, of course I did it, then everybody wanted these fillers as well. It became like a huge hype, which still lasts. So, and also her figure, you can see a bit in her waist. You can see a bit that there was some manipulation there. So it's not even that she didn't even hide it all that well. But it's kind of an extreme body figure that we see here. That's not a very. There are not many people in the world who actually have a body like this without the help of many plastic surgeons, technology, and personal trainers.
So exaggerated bodies and exaggerated pictures on these sites. Yeah. Lilian, sorry, nee, Dries. We have Dries up first. Yeah, so there you go.
This is not me. I wanted to point out the two things that are happening in the internet. I think it's, as we all know, the internet is having the tendency to polarize things, to make things more extreme. On dating apps, you have on the one hand the infantilizing language and emoticons that makes us appear like children in a way. So the way we talk about sex, also the way we talk about drugs, we do with in a very infantile way. Since drugs and sex, especially on these dating apps, are more and more interconnected, it's becoming more and more a thing. So people say that they're doing party and play, or they are high and horny. You see crystal meth. I'm a bit. This is a thing that enters the Amsterdam scene when we're talking about chemsex, for example. But it's been addressed.
Chemsex, using chemicals, using drugs in order to have sex.
Especially crystal meth, GHB, and methadone. But people say, for example, Tina. And, instead of a needle, people talk about a pin. So it's this very sanitized language to address something that might be problematic. On the other hand, you have the pornification. You have websites where people identify themselves just with their penis. Something like Bull Chat is a website where men who have sex with men go to. And they sorry, drink some water.
Yeah.
They show their cocks and their asses, in my opinion, not always in the most attractive ways. And they refer to themselves by in the most pornographic way. So on the one hand, we have the American college girl who's like, ooh, I talk about a penis. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, you have the true cum slut. And I think when we talk about language, we can also see that this language is built on the ethics of, for example, Anglo-Saxon way of thinking, which is a little bit more prudish than we are.
Yeah.
What is missing is what's in the middle. So the kind of things that are ambiguous, that are dark, that are unspoken. For poetry, there's less room.
Yeah, and also maybe humor and irony.
Yeah, when irony is in a prescripted form, it goes well. But when it's your irony, no.
Yeah.
I mean, just showing like a body picture with just the way you are, just from there, with like a hanging penis, no.
Yeah.
That's a no-go.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's not extreme enough, I
Yeah.
guess.
Lilian, the gray zone.
Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah, when I during my research to emoji, often the risk for misunderstandings was like people like were talking a lot about that, but I don't really think it's a big risk. I think you already mentioned in the beginning of your talk, like that it's really attractive to use emoji in your own way and come up with creative new meanings for certain emoji. At the same time, I also understand what you said, that it's also like the emoji we see here are all emoji that could be used for sexting, which maybe you wouldn't say in the first site. But the fact that we use these like childish kind of references is because emoji, or if you look at emoji then, like emoji is controlled by the Unicode Consortium, who is very neat. They don't want to, they also decide which emoji will be added every year, and they don't want any controversial emoji. So that's why there's hardly any emoji for drugs-related things. Actually, the marijuana emoji is the most requested and most rejected emoji.
You have the needle these days.
Yeah, but that like the ones that are a bit controversial or are a bit that are from the very beginning there. So that was the first Japanese emoji set, and there is also a bomb, for instance, or a knife.
The gun got changed into a water pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
So
is the
there's
scissors? The sexual meaning of the scissors, because it worries me a bit.
It's lesbian scissoring.
Sorry.
Is there?
What I think is interesting also is that there are a lot of metaphors for the male genitals, but there are not so many references for the female genitals. There is one, like the taco sometimes could be used for it, the dumpling and the sushi I found, but I never saw that. But it's definitely not that obvious as the male genital metaphor.
Is there by now a person in the audience that has a very pressing question? Otherwise, we'll go on. There's also an opportunity. Well, I'll check again at the end of the panel. I have a question. There is a throw mic that can come to you, or we can bring it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's for Kelli. You talk about the people that you research as if you personally know them. You've been following them for years. Are you also exchanging with them? Are you emailing, chatting with them, or is it like you're spying on them?
Well, these girls, I especially like the main character, the person that became kind of the main character in my book, was also part of this group. She actually texted me yesterday. She just finished high school last year, and she's in Barcelona now. So we are still in contact sometimes, and sometimes like we have like a WhatsApp group, and sometimes I just ask, how are you girls doing? Like, how's everything going? Unfortunately, COVID did change it a bit, did make our contact a bit less frequent, because we kept on trying to meet each other, especially when my previous book, which was about them, was finished last year, and we just kept trying to set dates when we could see each other again, but yeah, just gathering in a group of 7 was a bit, was not allowed for a long time, so we couldn't really make that happen.
That's an excellent bridge to the third topic, which is, well, from ERL to URL. The relationship between online conventions and in real life conventions. Dries, you brought a T-shirt.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a cultural pessimist, I think. I thought what happens if we communicate in real life as we do online, things would definitely get more practical. I think the internet functions very well if you have something on offer and someone has a demand. So a website like Marktplaats, it's perfect. You have a cupboard, someone else is looking for a cupboard, here you have it, this is what you pay. If we treat ourselves like that, then a lot of things are getting lost. If every one of you would here have such a T-shirt, or you enter a pub and you see exactly what someone wants and what someone doesn't want, when someone has a T-shirt with, I don't want Asians, or I don't want oldies, or I don't want fats, or I don't want femmes, then things are getting more practical, and also you lose exactly what is being negotiated when you are having this person right in front of you. The question is also, of course, do we really know who we are? Do we really know what we want, since we are asked to put it in words? Is charm not disappearing? Are secrets not disappearing? And also the act of having sex is not so much fun when you know exactly what you're going to get. So yeah, we're losing, I think, quite a lot when we use the internet as the space of looking for hookups. What we win, of course, what we gain is transparency, because everything is transparent. All the walls are being taken away. So when you're looking for someone who is on the other side of the wall and you have no clue, then it's me, right?
No, I don't think it's you. No.
Okay, oh, it's you. Then it's very helpful. So me being 18 or 17, 16 in a small Brabant village, the other day I put on Grindr in my parents' place, and I was like, wow, all the farmers have it here. So, yeah, for some people, when you're the only gay in the village, transparency helps. I think for the rest of society, transparency is not helpful at all. Let's please switch off the light and sometimes just stick to one person without being always aware of all the others that are standing behind with their T-shirt already on. Yeah,
Lilian?
I think this depends a lot on the platform. With my colleagues at the HUM, we talk a lot about how online and offline is often seen as a binary, while especially after last year and the increased digitization, there's so much overlap. So I don't really think we should see it as a dichotomy. And for me, I think also the conversations we have online you cannot really say that they're very different from the conversations online, but because there's no conversation online, it's really depending on the platform. But for this question, I was thinking about a difference between online and offline, and then I think one thing that is really different is the presence or absence of the body. There is a book called Glitch Feminism, and there the writer Legacy Russell, she says, with our physical presence is always related to a body, and that body has connections with like a social context, political context, and historical context. But online you can start from scratch. You can start without all these entanglements. So this image is a toaster and dust bunny. You see here 2 avatars, and it's a still from a documentary by Joe Hunting. It's called We Met in VR. I think it's not released yet, but he is still developing it. And it is filmed in VR chat and about VR chat. And the documentary is focused on the power of the avatar, for example, in gender expression. And Toaster and Dust Bunny, they met once in real life, and then they had a long-distance relationship, and then the pandemic hit, so they were not able to see each other anymore, and they were continuing meeting and dating in VR chat.
Yeah, which is interesting also. When you're talking about love or sex, at one point you will need to bring the body in.
Yeah.
Or do you think that this can ever substitute that?
Now, I haven't seen the documentary, only a trailer, but I think in here, they found a way to substitute that. Because they had really like intimate meetings together with, like, the avatars were having meetings together.
And that was also fulfilling for the people behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then of course, well, that's in absence during the pandemic, and then of course, now we were saying today how happy we were that we could do this with an audience, that we are all physically here and we're not having sex yet. So I think also it really showed this need that we have to be physically present, by lack of substitute. Kelli, your visual.
So this is an image from a Calvin Klein campaign, #MyCalvins, which they launched in 2014. And it was quite an efficient and super popular campaign. So they just asked some celebrities to pose with their Calvin Klein underwear and put the hashtag #MyCalvins. And in these years, Calvin Klein became hugely popular. Like Calvin Klein sometimes is more popular, sometimes a bit less. And the last couple of years, it's been very popular, especially among teens and young people. And this period was kind of kicked off with this campaign. And the girls I was just talking about, they were, of course, very inspired by this. Like in school, you would be really cool if you had like a Calvin Klein underwear. But then in real life, you shouldn't be showing them off. So there were these girls that made some clips of themselves which kind of invoked these kind of images, but they were for informal use. And then they sent it to friends who they were also kind of fighting with at the time on Snapchat. So it wasn't meant to be published to a larger audience. Then, of course, because there were some struggles between them, it was published on Instagram. So it went around the whole school. So as soon as this informal reenactment of this campaign became formal online, it got this whole different connotation. So first it's just girls having fun together, trying out stuff. And then it became a sex tape, which actually became known around the whole of Amsterdam among young people. And even up to Germany, people knew about the clip. So like when it went from real life to online, it got a lot more dramatic and heavy.
Yeah, so the consequences of being in a fight are way more far-stretching.
Yeah, and also
the
consequences of being public. If you are like, if they would have been like analog pictures, it would have been a different story. There would have been some gossip on school ground, but that would have been it. And now everybody saw the clips and shared it, and of course the girls got slut-shamed, and they were still wearing underwear. It wasn't even very extreme. But it's just a connotation when it becomes public.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that, Lilian and Dries?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I didn't realize it when I was thinking about this question. It also makes me think about we had an event about deepfakes and how that is also really a problem like this personal deep fake, like that girls in school are deep faked into porn videos and stuff like that. So that even when you don't act on something yourself, you still can.
Wasn't there also this mother, like soccer mom in Texas, who made a deepfake video of like a friend or competitor of her daughter's to, I don't know, get her kicked out of the cheerleading team?
Oh my God.
But with deepfakes, I always think what it provides is plausible deniability. So now when you have a sex tape out, you can always say, it's not me, it's a deep fake. So I really understand all the worries about deepfakes, but I also think it has benefits as well. You can just go, it wasn't me, it was Lilian's mom.
It brings us back to total ambiguity about whether something is real or not. And that's something that we thought we lost since the entrance of the photograph. It's back.
Yeah, but also we might become more and more suspicious, right? Because we think that everything that might be brought to us is either a lie or is being deep-faked or being manipulated in order to get our attention.
But we manipulate things all the time. It's like with followers. You know, it says a lot about you how many followers you have, and it's a real disgrace if you buy followers. And like these kids were always accusing each other of buying followers. You know, that's already something like we kind of have to be suspicious all the time anyway.
But don't you think that right now at this table you are less able to manipulate because you talk the way you, I mean, you don't have time to curate yourself.
Life, yes,
you don't have
the
time to get through your text and to think, well, maybe change it a bit, maybe it looks better this, maybe let's wait a bit. That's
definitely.
This constant curating yourself, or maybe even faking yourself, does, on the other hand, make us more and more confronted with things that.
Yeah, but the thing that's also so difficult about online, because you are curating yourself right now. Like, you're not talking to me the way you would be talking to your husband. So we all have this.
And we're performing in front of an audience. We're very aware. Normally would not sit like this.
But you're always performing, even like in a way, even when you talk to your mom or... and the thing is that online, you have to be the same person for everybody that you're usually a different person to. You have to present yourself as if you were a celebrity to all these people you know or kind of know. And that's also what makes it so difficult, like for us and for teens. It's like these contexts collapse. It's really, you always have to manipulate yourself and your own image as soon as you go online.
Let's move to the fourth and final round, which is also related to this. Does social media make people more narcissistic and self-centered? I'm going to ask you to keep it a little shorter, so we can also have some time for questions from the audience. Kelli, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so I got this image, I think it's also multiple images, from a Twitter account that's called How Can I Make This About Me? And it's just a collection of examples how people have just gone absolutely mad online in presenting themselves for every reason. So, for example, this is a famous Dutch person called Bridget Maasland, who just takes a picture of herself when she's grieving the loss of her colleague Peter de Vries. It just shows so beautifully how completely, there's just no shame anymore in just taking every moment to put yourself on the foreground. And I think that's also because we kind of live in a world where we have to push ourselves to the foreground to even get seen, because attention is such a precious...
Was she shaded for this? Did people hate her?
Well, that's what I find interesting. I don't know, are there many... there's not a number of how many people like this, but I think we are getting used to people doing this. So she was made fun of, at least, but Yeah, people, like, there's not a huge outcry that would have been like 10 years ago. Everybody would have been like, is she crazy? And now only half of those people are thinking, is she crazy?
Yeah. Dries,
Yeah.
do social media make people more self-centered,
Yeah, I
narcissistic?
thought that a shopping window would be a good metaphor for this corporate technosphere in which we move, because we're aware when we are on social media that people are watching us. I mean, we are right now also, but what if this room would be way bigger and more light, and when thousands and thousands of people are seeing us, what changes then? I think you are either you shop or you're being shopped. And this awareness influences us in what we show and how we express ourselves, how Bridget Maasland chooses her words, because she would choose it maybe differently when she would do it just on a piece of paper to his grave. But she knows that people are watching it, and she knows that she might gain more attention or more likes or more hearts or whatsoever.
And she needs to be seen.
So how does this influence the one who is shopping, and how does it influence the one behind the window? I think the one behind the window, if the person is super hot or super intelligent or super successful, then he might get addicted to the fact that he has all the viewers on the other side of the window. For the people watching, there are more and more shopping windows behind. So where's the moment where you say, I stick to this one? And although I see thousands and thousands of other shopping windows, this is the one that I stay with. Is there still place for intimacy when everybody is aware of their market value? Something that happens a lot in Grindr and Scruff is that people do trophy fucking, which means you fuck with someone not because you want to fuck, but basically because you want to give yourself the feeling that you are a good boy because you found that one. That means you never have sex a second time with this person because the trophy is already there. And that makes me sad in a way also. I read this one line from Michel Houellebecq where he said, the amount of time that we put in being attractive these days is not bigger than before. Also, the amount of time that we put in having sex is not bigger than before. It's just that the way these two are related did change. In the early, before we wanted to be attractive in order to have sex. And these days it's many times the opposite. So what we want is to be attractive. And in order to have that feeling, we have sex to maintain that position in our shopping window. So narcissistic when you're the hot guy, and maybe also lots of anxieties when you're not.
Yeah, so interesting. Also, a piece I read a while ago about how everybody is being sexy, but a lot of people are not having sex. And so I find it very interesting what you say, that the goal is now to be attractive and not to have pleasure, for instance. Yeah. Lilian, your final visual.
Yeah, I've brought a quote from writer Gia Tolentino from her book Trick Mirror. In real life, you can walk around living life and be visible to other people, but you can't just walk around and be visible on the internet. For anyone to see you, you have to act. You have to communicate in order to maintain an internet presence. And because the internet's central platform are built around personal profiles, it can seem first at a mechanical level and later on as an encoded instinct, like the main purpose of this communication is to make yourself look good. I thought this was very relevant for this topic. This is an image, a visualization of the term virtual signaling, why referring to, a bit ironic, to the fact that we want to show our best sides in the posts or how we show ourselves on the internet. And I think it's really important also to be aware of how platforms are stimulating that for us. When I open Facebook, it's asking me, Lilian, what are you doing today? Instagram, you get more likes when you post a selfie. If you want to make content on TikTok, immediately the selfie cam opens, not the other camera. So yeah, of course we are like the platform are really like kind of demanding this behavior from us.
Yeah.
It seems that we're all grieving some form of authenticity that we've lost in this digital age.
We have like a little bit of time for a question from the audience. I'll also check to see if there's somebody from the at-home audience, but I don't see that. Just an instruction about my clicker. Is there anybody here that wants to add? Yeah, I see a hand going up right in the back, and then the mic is going to come to you, and that's going to be the question. Yes.
Hi, my name is Katerina. I want to go back a couple of chapters, I think to the second chapter, to talk about representation and agency. We've seen a lot of photos of women, and the photographs that we've seen of women have been of a particular archetype. I feel very uncomfortable about something, and I just wanted to voice it out. There seems to me to be a paradox, or perhaps I'm trying to ask whether there is a paradox, because I believe, Kelli, you talked about agency, if I'm not mistaken. And indeed, the internet can be a very empowering tool. But I'm
going to ask you to keep it brief.
Yes,
please,
well, I'll try.
We have
very
1
difficult
minute
for me.
left.
Yeah. Okay. So.
I'm sorry. We get 5 minutes extra, but do please keep it brief.
I will try. So on the one hand, we've seen these images of women, which could be said to represent some form of agency, but actually the kind of representation that we're looking at is the totally stereotypical, commodified. It represents all of the critique that feminists have today about the objectification of women. And I'm really wondering, where is the agency in this representation?
So the question is, a lot of the representation that we see fits the sort of stereotypes that feminists have been critiquing. Can you say then that there's any form of agency? Because you said that the girls are in control.
No, they are invoking a sense of agency, which they actually don't have. And it's true what you say. You see all these girls, and what I thought was really interesting when I was spending time with both boys and girls in this age group, was that for the girls there were completely different unwritten rules for how to behave online, and they really had to curate their image, their public image. So there will be either this and like really being what was expected of them, or they would just not put anything of themselves online because it would stress them out. They would have to think about it so much. They would worry about the likes they would get, and as you just said, like a selfie, putting a selfie online was always rewarded so much more than putting a picture of something you would find interesting. So yeah, that's really problematic that girls are being, or young women mostly, are being pushed to representing themselves according to what is expected of them. So, and of course there is a huge body positivity movement online, which is still way too small, and sometimes it's just more of a token sense of body positivity, which actually in your last picture is expressed as well, like this guy with all these like good things that he's trying to project online, and was actually not following through with anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a big problem actually.
Also with body positivity, what's very interesting is research with young feminists shows that because Instagram is so visual, this is perhaps the only topic that they can be activist about. So climate change or poverty or other forms of social injustice are hard to visualize on Instagram, so body positivity becomes almost the sole topic that you can be a feminist activist about. Dries, you said sort of the possibilities that Scruff offers you to represent yourself, also sort of lay it down in a very stereotypical gay way about who you can be as a gay man.
Yeah.
So is there any agency there?
Well, you need to be brave, right? You need to make that that device or that world to be your bitch, to work for you, and to say like, what I'm looking for is this, and I'm gonna find a way to hack all these prescripted terms, and not to stick to the archetypes, and not to stick to what they think that is. Because it's not that all the people online there are looking for an XL top jock, whatever you call it. It's just laziness, and it's like, I think also people are shy and not really know how to express their needs, so they leave it to the device to do it. So in that sense, I really liked what one of the two of you said, what if the first chats would be taken over by algorithms, because many of us do that in a way, in so automatized way, that's so away from who we are as people. So the first 3-4 minutes, the algorithm can do it. And then we step in and we see okay, maybe we continue because there is an interesting architect there with one eye, and I don't know, like anything that's out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something, because like Grindr is also kind of designed for these fast, like meeting people fast. Like if it can
Yes and no, because it's also a corporation. They also want you to stay online.
Yeah.
They don't want you to leave. They want
But
you
I
to
was
stay.
wondering if you don't want to focus on all these questions that the app is asking you for. Is then a solution maybe to try to find a date via Tinder, where you don't have these preferences, right, to fill in?
Yeah, and fewer people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
And
it's
also,
like if you imagine like a big hole, and everybody speaks French, and you speak German, that after a while you start to learn French, right? And when someone says like, well, around the corner there's a room with 3 people that speak German, are you entering when here are the hotties? I find myself many times going up and down.
Yeah. I understand what you say.
Lilian, do you also see that these limitations that certain platforms give us also lead to more creative ways of finding control and agency?
Yeah, I think we should do that. Like the same that we're finding new ways of using emoji. That is also something we should do with platforms. Like with the Hum, we're doing it a lot now with online events. Like there's no good platform for online events. We have to discover it a lot, how we can connect with our audience. So we try to find ways to do it and to, I think that is still, that's why I was asking this question. Like, is there a way to hack the platform a bit? I would say
and
that
you see that happening. I mean, you see people who manage to hack the platforms, like something like gender identity is being more and more addressed. There are certain topics where you realize, okay, these people manage to bend the rules into their direction.
Yeah.
But you need time, and you need to, every time when someone speaks French to you, say, we stick to German. And that's...
because the language is already like,
The language is so strong, and there's 9 people who use this language in your direction. So before you know, you start to adapt, and you start to use the same.
We learn languages, but we also create languages. I would like to thank my guests, Kelli van der Waals, Lilian Stolk, and Dries Verhoeven for their very interesting contributions. I would also like to thank you, the audience, also the audience at home, for your attention and your questions. Hopefully you've gained some new insights, maybe some tips on how to use the internet to find love or find sex, or how to use online communication to deepen the relationships with people that you already have. Next up here is a keynote, The Restoration of Adam and Eve by Munir Samuel. That will start at 7:30, which means that we can also have a drink here, like have some in real life contact. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the festival. Dank jullie wel. Dank jullie wel.